Welcome to FailCraft, the podcast where we dive into the messy, real side of success and explore how setback become the stepping stone to growth and clarity. I'm your host, Ezekiel Liferia, and today's guest is a powerhouse of energy. Tony Saint is an award-winning singer and songwriter who has performed over 7,000 shows worldwide. That is a level of grit and consistency that is hard to wrap your head around. But what I love about Tony's story is where he chooses to take that energy through his non-profit, the Spirit of Music Foundation. He brings live music into prisons, rehab centers, and nursing homes, places where people are often facing the hardest, darkest chapters. He's here to talk about the healing power of music, the resilience it takes to make it as an independent artist, and how to find hope when life gets heavy. So, Tony, it's a pleasure to have you on Fieldcraft. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that.
All
I'm
right,
excited to get
sir.
started.
Yeah, likewise. So let's dive in. You have played on big stages with rock legends, but you also intentionally played in prisons and rehab centers. Those are places filled with people who are living through their ultimate setbacks. So can you take us back to, those specific performances? So was there a moment where you looked into the crowd and realized that your music wasn't just entertaining them, but was actually helping them? And maybe you also to heal from deep struggle.
Sure. So I'm going to reiterate the question. That way it just makes sense for me the way I'm going to answer it. How I got started in playing music like this, I've always been a singer-songwriter. I've started like almost 40 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I've always written songs since day one. I think the very first show we did, or that I did back in 1984, I did 10 originals and one cover. So I was always geared to play my own stuff.
Hmm.
Sometime about 25 years ago, I was listening to a lot of different motivational speakers, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, Earl Nightingale, Brian Tracy, and it was a lot of powerful information there. And I said, well, how can I start using this and maybe put it in a song? So I started writing songs that had a powerful message, non-denominational, has nothing to do with religion. If you're, Jewish, Catholic, it doesn't matter. These were just a wider net thrown out there to say, hey, songs like Best Case Scenario, Breaking All the Rules That Were Meant to Be Broken, Reinvent Your Life, titles and subject matters that were more general for self-empowerment for people. And what I found is, as I started performing these songs, I realized I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and my keyboard player was a former sheriff. And he said, hey, we could get, he goes, I'm listening to your songs, Tone. And he goes, we could do a show at the jail. I said, really? And he goes, yeah. He goes, they don't normally use rock bands, but, I think we could do something. So long story short, as we got in, and we did a show, and as you mentioned earlier, I've done over 7,000 shows, and one of
Hmm.
my top 3 favorite shows was one show that we did at the LA County Jail for the women. There was 200 women there in this big auditorium, and they were so excited to have someone there because normally they'll get, if they do get any type of entertainment as far as music, it's usually a quartet playing a cello, a violin, and just more classical music. So here we were, a 5-piece rock band, and they just started screaming, and they were just so excited. But they were so excited that we felt like the Beatles at Shea Stadium. There was so much energy that came towards us that we started playing, they started screaming, and I missed my cue. I missed my cue. We're all looking at each other like, what is going on here? So we settled in and we played the performance, and there was people laughing, they were crying, they were so affected and so emotionally connected to what I was saying. And that led me forward to creating a show called the Energize Your Vibe Show, where it's
Hmm.
half motivational speaking and half original material. So I'll give you a quick example. So if I'm doing a song called, excuse me, breaking all the rules that were meant to be broken. So I'll talk about the song prior to doing it. So I'll talk about how society could put limitations on you, your family could put limitations on you. But what's worse is when you put limitations on yourself. So if you think you can or if you think you can't, you're 100% correct. So I'll talk about that for a while, and then I'll bring in some different historical figures like Roger Bannister. For 100 years, they had measured how long it takes to run a mile. And for 100 years, no one had done it under 4 minutes. So society thought it was impossible. Well, here comes this guy, Roger Bannister, in the 1950s, and he beats it. He did it in like 3 minutes and 54 seconds or something like that, 58 seconds. It was just under 4 minutes. And everyone
Mhm.
thought, oh my God, someone actually did it. They thought it was impossible. And here's this guy that didn't take that belief and he changed it. Now, the crazy thing that happened after that was within 2 weeks, someone else did it. And then within 2 weeks, someone else did it. So now here's something that hadn't been done in 100 years of them testing. And all of a sudden, one person did it and it changed everything. It changed everyone's perception. Like, if he could do it, well, then I could do it. So I put that back out to the audience. I go, so what is it that you're limiting yourself from doing? And what is it that you want to do? And what is it that society says you can't do or your family says you can't do? Are you going to believe in them or are you going to believe in yourself? So I instantly started seeing how my music can instantly start changing people's thought pattern. I say I plant seeds, and if they nurture that seed, it'll grow. If they just toss it aside, then it does nothing. So all I can do is plant the seed. So when I play my original songs and my shows like this, Energize Your Vibes, that's what I'm doing. I'm just going out there and giving them a different perspective of how they can change their lives.
All right, all right. Really, really inspiring. Tony, you talk about resilience and reinvention in your own career. So, what was the hardest no or the biggest failure you faced as an independent artist on the road to those 7,000 shows you've completed?
Well, there's a bunch, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of challenges. I've always been very goal oriented. So ever since I started, I always set goals for myself and tried to achieve them. My dad was never very supportive of me choosing music as a career. And so his non-belief in what I was trying to do, I let that fuel my fire and that encouraged me to prove him wrong. And I'll give you a quick story on how that happened. For a long time, he said, you can't play music. You got to be the man of the house. You have to get a real job. And so I had written these two jingles for Subway restaurant, and I had a check for $15,000. Actually, it was $16,000. And these are for two little 30-second jingles that I'd written. So I thought to myself, I'm going to show my dad this check, and he's going to change his mind about me. He's going to realize, wow, you really can make money at this. And wow, I was wrong. I didn't realize that's what you could really do. So I showed him the check, and to my surprise, he said, well, you can't do that every day. And it took all the wind out of my sail. But at that point, I realized he had served his purpose as far as motivating me to move forward. He fueled my fire to prove him wrong. And at that point, I had to let him go and say, you know what? I'm doing this for myself now. This is for me. I'll never convince you that this is a career move for me. And so, I put that aside. A second challenge that I was faced with was to play music full time. I was living in Connecticut at the time, which is a state that's in the Northeast of America. And I knew I had to move somewhere else where could play full time 7 days a week. So I packed up everything and I moved to Florida. And I moved to Florida without knowing, I think I knew one person at the time. And I told everybody that I'm moving to Florida to be a full time musician. And you think people would be encouraging, and instead they were discouraging. They're like, "Oh, you don't wanna do that. Why do you wanna go there? It's hot there. There's old people there." Every excuse. Well, what I realized at that point was they were trying to interject or project their fears onto me. It's their fears that they thought if I could do it and face my fears and face that challenge, then they would have to do the same, and they didn't have the courage to leave. So they're wanted me to stay. So, "Oh, no, you should just stay here. Why do you wanna go to Florida? You don't wanna go to Florida." I'm like, "No, I'm going." And then they would ask, "Well, how are you gonna do it? How are you gonna do it?" I go, "I don't know. I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna make it happen." They're like, "Well, do you have shows set up?" I'm like, "No, I have no show set up. I'm gonna make it happen." And I think that's where you have to go on faith. You just have to go and say, "Hey, I'm gonna make this happen. There's no plan B. It's just plan A." So that was a
Mhm.
very big challenge and setback for me because I had no idea what I was gonna do. I just knew that There's other people playing full time in Florida, so I can play full time in Florida. Simple as that. And within 3 months, because I had gotten a job at a sign company, and within 3 months, I was able to quit, and I was playing full time, and that was 25 years ago.
Wow,
So, since then, back then, I was doing 275 shows a year. So you could see how you could quickly get to over 7,000 shows. Yeah.
fantastic. That was a really inspiring and motivational response there, Tony. So I like to ask, how do you keep your own vibes energized when you are touring and things go wrong or when you are facing personal challenges off stage?
Honestly, I think what happens is a lot of times I write these songs for myself. If I write a song called The Best Case Scenario, I'm really writing it for myself because I know it has a positive message for me.
Hmm.
And I get that song particular sung back to me through different friends. So if I'm in a situation where like, oh my God, I'm running late. Oh, I hope there's not traffic. And I think of every worst case scenario as I'm trying to leave to go to work. My wife might turn to me and go, "Give me that best case scenario. I want to hear it full blast in stereo." And I'm like, "Yes, yes, yes. Okay, okay, okay." So, you try to come back into that. Wait a minute. What am I focusing on? I'm a very strong believer that you get what you focus on. So if I'm focusing on the traffic and how I'm going to be late, well, then all my energy is going towards that, as opposed to the traffic is going to open up. This is gonna clear out. I'm gonna be able to get there on time. Cars are gonna move out of the way, and now I'm projecting a different outcome, and I'm focusing on that. So, these things happen all the time. I always have to try to keep myself in check. We're all human, so, we always
Yeah.
fall back into these same type of scenarios.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned that music, music played a role in your own personal growth. So was there a specific song you wrote or performed that got through got you through a tough time?
Not one particular, no, I think they've all had their moments.
Hmm.
I have over 18 CDs that I've written and recorded, and I'm always writing new songs. So songs always just come in at different places and apply themselves in different ways. If it's Reinvent Your Life, then it's like me looking at myself going, geez, I'm getting older. Can I still do this? It's like, of course you can. You know, you could do whatever you want. And if it's breaking all the rules that were meant to be broken, it's like, oh, well, no one's ever done that before. Well, why can't I be the Roger Bannister? Why can't I be the first one to do it? See, a lot of times people are looking for other people to, success leaves clues. So, and I say this during my class or during my presentation, I say, hey, you might be the first one to ever go to college in your family, but it's going to take you to do it. You know, you can't rely on your niece, your uncle, or someone else. Maybe you need to be that person that steps up. You need to be that Roger Bannister after 100 years to say, look, I ran the mile in under 4 minutes when everyone else thought it was impossible. So it's just constantly trying to look at your situation and just trying to keep yourself up and focus on what you really want to do.
So what's the biggest difference between the energy, of a crowd at a big concert versus the energy in a prison yard? So what does that teach you about the human spirit?
I think it's two totally different types of energy. If I'm playing at a jail and I'm playing for people that are looking to make a change and really rehabilitate themselves, I'm coming in there as a teacher, an inspirer, someone who is ready to educate and entertain. And so they're very attentive and they're listening very closely to everything I'm saying. And my presentation is more about getting the message out and performing the music. When you're performing in front of a crowd of let's say non-inmates or non-people that are looking to make a change, it's a wholly different energy. So let's say if I'm in a concert type setting or in a bar scene, people are looking to get entertained. They want to laugh, they want to sing, they want to dance. So it's a different energy. The thing about me is I perform all different types of shows. So I play as a solo, a duo, a trio, a full 5-piece band. I play original shows. I play cover shows. So I'm like a chameleon. I'm constantly playing different types of shows, which is
Wow.
exciting to me because otherwise I get bored. I don't
Mm.
want to play the same thing every day. I like to do different things all the time. So I'm constantly challenging myself to bring something different to the show every time for myself and for the audience. So as far as energy, yeah, they're just two different types of energy that they bring. Like I get just as excited performing for 25 people that are really into it and really getting inspired as I am for 2,500 people. It's just different. It's just different.
All right. So, Tony, for the person listening right now who feels trapped, whether literally or just in a mental prison of negativity and failure, so what's one simple way they can use music or mindset shift to start finding a little bit of freedom today?
I would say take a moment to write down who you really want to be or what you really want to do and write it out as long and as full as you can. So, for example, you know, don't write, I want to be rich. For
Mm,
example, if you want to talk about money, say, I want $250,000 in the bank. And that $250,000 allows me to have a house that has 4 bedrooms, 2-car garage, a pool in the back, on a cul-de-sac. Go into details. And as you go into details, have fun with it. Now, it's really interesting. As I'm telling you this story, I'm going to tell you a story about how I manifested something. So, I was in a position where I owned a house, and my wife and I had bought a second house right next door to us. And so we had a rental property and we had our house. And we kept saying we want a bigger house. So I said, you know what? Let's write down exactly what we want. We want 4 bedrooms. We want 3 bathrooms. We want a pool. We want this. And as we wrote it down, I thought to myself, I went to my recording studio and I recorded myself saying what I wanted. But what I did while I did it is I was actually laughing and having fun with it because this was like my little fantasy. This was there's no limitation to it, just having fun with it. So I said, I want a pond and I want some ducks in the pond, and I'm laughing. So I took this CD and I would play this CD in my car. And it was just me talking to myself of this house that I wanted to manifest. So we weren't in any rush to get this house. We weren't coming from a desperate situation. So long story short is, a realtor started sending us some houses, and he sent us this one particular house 3 times. And I said to my wife, it's been a year. This guy keeps sending us different houses. We should go and look at one of them. So we go and look at this house. We're in there for about, I don't know, half hour or so. We're like, oh, wow, this is on a cul-de-sac. Okay. And that's what we wanted. Oh, it's a 4 bedroom. Oh, it's a 2-car garage. And he goes, "Yeah, there's a pond in the back behind the pool." And I go, "Oh, yeah, cool." And he goes, "Yeah, the owner says there's a bunch of ducks that are in the pond." And I went, "There's ducks in the pond? Okay." And I didn't realize it because we literally spent an hour there. On the drive home, I looked at my wife and I went, "Oh my God, that's the house." And she goes, "What are you talking about?" I go, "It's a 4 bedroom. It's got 3 bathrooms. It's got a pool. It's on a cul-de-sac and it's got a pond with ducks in it." I'm like, "This is exactly what we've been talking about." She goes, "Are you serious?" I go, "Yes, this is the CD that I kept playing." And so we bought the house. I mean, it was just like, I couldn't believe that I could manifest a house with ducks in a pond, that type of detail. And when people ask me, "How did you do that?" I said, "I came from a place of appreciation. I didn't come from desperation. And I came from a place of lightheartedness and fun. And I just allowed the universe to bring it to me."
mm,
So when you're in a restaurant, you tell the waiter your order. "Hey, I want a steak, medium rare, and some fries." Okay. Now you don't stop him every 10 seconds and go, "Hey, hey, 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 do you remember I ordered a steak?" He's like, "Yes, yes, we're getting it." You don't stop him. So the universe works the same way. You place that order and you release it and you let it go and you just wait for it to manifest and come into you. And you keep yourself at that higher energy, like the waiter is going to come back with your order because that's what they do. Well, then the universe is going to come back with that request. You just have to allow it to happen, and you have to stay at that frequency of being ready to allow it to happen.
all right. Really, really fantastic response, dear Tony. So after 7,000 shows, sharing stages with icons and serving people in need. So, what does being successful truly mean to you now, Tony?
Being able to do what you love to do and entertaining other people, bringing hope and passion to other people, either through my music or through my conversation or motivational speaking. I love seeing other people succeed and achieve what they want to achieve. So if somehow my music helps them get there, that excites me. Success is being happy with who you are and what you've already been able to do.
Hmm.
Me as a musician, I've always been driven to look forward, to look forward. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And every once in a while, I have to stop and look behind me and go, wow, you've already done quite a bit, you know? So count the things that you're thankful for. Count your blessings.
Yeah,
Focus on
gratitude.
everything that you have. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic, fantastic. That was a really interesting one there. So, finally, for our listeners who wants to hear your music or get those, free unreleased songs or support the Spirit of Music Foundation, so where is the best place for them to go?
So if you go to my website, www.sainttone.com, that's SAINTTONE.com, that's the best place. You'll find all my other links right there. You can find my YouTube channel. You can find my Facebook, you know, all my social media. You find out where all the other platforms are as far as where my music is streaming. It's on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, etc. So, yeah, I would say that's the main hub to go to.
All right. So this has been such an uplifting conversation, Tony. And I'm indeed excited and honored to have you on the show today, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.